so we're live. First podcast of the Deathproof series, and we have with us our all-time favorite, Mr. Zac Grimes.
What up, fam?
Who is one of our instructors, right, at CrossFit L1, which makes him automatically one of the best people on the planet. So, this is the new home. And what do you think so far?
So far, it is impressive. It is cavernous. Potential is everywhere. I see a lot of good stuff happening. I'm most interested to see as the plans develop, as the architecture and engineering piece comes together, just how functional it is going to be, how many options it's going to give all kinds of different people, all kinds of different athletes, whether you're a Parkinson's athlete who is just freshly diagnosed, ready to come out here and fight off your diagnosis and improve your health that way, versus your triathlete who fancies himself a champion, who wants to go out and get involved in race series, versus your guy like me who's just kind of your everyday guy who wants health, guy who wants a better life and wants to be able to do his job and stuff like that. There's just something for everybody, which is what I love.
Yeah, I think that's that is not an accident. We spent so this is what 8 months that we've been out of a job, getting close to now, right?
I haven't been out of a job.
Well, yeah, you've been doing the rock steady stuff, but 8 months of working on stuff is a long time, especially when you've already started up CrossFit Total Fitness, CrossFit Seymour, Retaliation, Deathproof. So this is attempt number 5. You'd think by now that we'd be getting something right? And what this location I think offers us is flexibility to deal with all of those different bits without having to point just in one direction. So that kind of follows the CrossFit mentality of, it's like it is the everyman sport. It's ready for anything because functional fitness is that which produces health in all people. It doesn't matter whether you're an adaptive athlete or you're elite or whatever. So I think that when we came down to discussing the architecture for this place from an operations perspective, there was a couple of things that we'd said that we want to include from the start. And one of the things that just being an engineer and liking taking data and analyzing data to see if you're actually making a difference, one of the big things was the heart rate monitoring system that we're going to put in, right? Which is, that's a first around here. Orange Theory Fitness does it if you want to go run on a treadmill, right? But that's, so we invented the outside so that people could run without being on a treadmill, right? Which is, treadmills are fine, but you can't beat just going out and running. So like you said, you've got elite triathletes and they want heart rate based training, and you've got CrossFitters who are not really aware of workout strategy involving heart rate based decisions. Then we've got the cycling angle, which again, our friend Stan, he complains every time he talks about indoor cycling, about people who, when they're told to gear up, meaning put more resistance on, just are merrily pedaling their legs with a smile on their face, and he's sweating like a pig, right? And that's how you can tell that somebody's input is grossly under where it ought to be, so they're not working hard enough. And this is that with exercise you get the results that you put the effort in from, right? It's really a function of power output. That's what exercise intensity is. So that I think we've done so much thinking along those lines that if we've got it wrong, I just need to buy a gun and blow my own fucking head off.
Right? Well, see, I think you mentioned something important, right? So you talked about through the planning process, starting with the end already in mind. So we know what we want. We know what fitness is. We've categorized it. We've studied it. We've analyzed it. We know the trade-offs and exactly what we're shooting for. So the reality is, at that point, how do we get to that? Well, we have certain specific things that we do. We do CrossFit, we do cycling, we do rowing, we do all these things. We mix them together and balance all of those various aspects of fitness. And then to do that, to do those things effectively, you have to have a really good space, right? Which is what I think you have here is probably the best space you can imagine when it comes to that sort of thing. So what I love is see the detail going into the planning piece, coming on the back end and saying, yeah, this is exactly why we designed X, Y, and Z, is to meet end goals. Yeah. And so that also goes, I think, to show a great deal of respect for the athletes, for the people that come in here that spend, what could be viewed as a lot of money to come here, right? Because even though CrossFit is valuable, it does tend to be much more expensive than your average fitness facility.
Well, and so that was something else that we attended to, right? We get, it is very convenient for a business owner to say, like, hey, you can do as much as you want for a flat fee. And the only problem with that is, some people play sport. And so if you're doing softball on Tuesday, golf on Wednesday, some kind of weird skirt-wearing Highland Games festival thing on Thursday, and then you want to CrossFit for the rest of the time, you might only get 3 workouts in a week, and then you're paying the same monthly rate as everybody else. So what we're doing this time around is trying to add some flexibility by creating a payment structure that bases off an average number of workouts per week. So one of the things that we do, you get a guy like Marty and ask him how many times a week he works out, and he'll say hand on heart 6, right? If I had a day off on Sunday, that's typically my day off or whatever. I work out every other day. And then he goes back to Guatemala for a couple of weeks, and then he finds himself a boyfriend, so he misses a couple of days. Again. Or just life gets in the way, and you will still swear hand on heart that you're doing 6 days a week, but when you calculate the average, right, it turns out you're at 4.5.
Sure.
So if you're at 4.5, wouldn't it be nice to pay for 4.5? Right? So, or if you're gonna be 4.5 on average, if you took 5 times a week membership, and then if you missed, you say you only came 3 times in 1 week, and you were able to roll the other classes over into the next week in order to make them up, we figured that was a much more fair way to do this, and so that's, and it just goes back to the fact that if somebody burns your gym down, you're able to think about every single aspect of the business, and it's been, I think we put everything into this iteration that we possibly can, short of going out and building a bespoke building, right, and you're going to overspecify that and never be able to afford it. It's been nice to look back and say, like, hey, if you were going to buy a rig again, what would you get? You'd be like, Monster-like, it's big and chunky, and we rolled around on thrown-ins, and it never moved even once, and there's 25 people on it, and it never moved. Wouldn't it be nice to have a rig that big? And it's like, yeah, so let's get 2 of them. Wouldn't it be nice to see, just by looking, how much weight somebody had on the bar because the plates were different colors? Because you can never tell if it's a 15 or a 10, right? Everybody's claiming, or you've got a 10 on one side and a 15 on the other.
It's not a PR, you're a liar.
Right? No, there's like, how come you're pushing harder with your left hand?
I do it all the time, man.
You're 2 10s on one side.
Oh, that's a 45-pound weight.
Yeah. Better quality barbells again. And then we'll cover this in a different podcast. We've got a new strategy on dumping weights. Okay. Right. So you saw some of the weights would split, and I think we look at home. You do.
As the award for the chili cook-off.
Oh, that's right.
Which I intend to defend again this October. However, that's a different podcast.
Yeah. But I've seen those Troy VTX plates get a bit of a drubbing on the internet, and they work real well for us. But there's no question, you just start dropping 25s on a 95-pound lift and doing it again and again and again, like sumo deadlift high pulls when you're down to singles and stuff. And And I think we know why that happens from an engineering perspective, why you crack your blades. Even though the guys who are selling them say like, no, it should do 30,000 cycles without any damage, and it should, but it's got to be dropped perfectly. So we've got a different strategy around dropping weights. People will still be dropping weights, but there's a different, there's going to be a little more concern for the equipment this time around.
Which is reasonable, I think. And I think most people would be supportive of that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be able to dump weights, right? It's part of the safety in the program. What you don't have to do, and I'm particularly sensitive to this because of the shape of my nose, right? Which is, what you don't have to do is dumbbell thrusters and then throw them at the fucking floor like you've spotted an ant that once screwed your girlfriend and you're determined to smash its brains in, and then pick them up again, and finally that dumbbell gets so weak that a mug like me gets on a bench, lifts it above my noggin, and then it breaks. And I looked like Brad Pitt once, I'm telling you, man, and then I dropped that weight on my face and it just exploded all over the place. It's like a fat Brad Pitt.
So you're talking about you're talking about the difference between a failed lift, which sometimes you just can't make it,
right?
Okay? And so it drops.
And flagrant abuse,
yeah, and
right. And so,
or even fatigue versus, let's say, hey, I'm super fired up because I just hit this PR, I'm going to slam the weights down. So those are all different things, right? And we can tell which one you're doing,
right? Yeah. So because when you yell and like, that wasn't the drop of safety, right?
Well, let's say safety, right? So that's another thing here, right? So we've always kind of advocated that CrossFit is one of the safest methods for fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're coming in here and your weights are tearing apart when you're going to lift something and stuff's flying off and weights are cracking, or some asshole over here is throwing their kettlebell down because they're fatigued or what have you, then that can make something certainly a more risky environment.
Yeah.
And probably one that is less conducive to fitness, which is what we're doing here.
Right.
So I think those are all reasonable things that you've said in as far as rule implementation. I know that we haven't necessarily talked about rules per se.
Yeah, I mean, some people are that have got used to this CrossFit bellow, then drop the weight, and then prance around like a tit, so that everybody can tell what you just did. That's an indulgence that is fun, right? But nobody objects to it until they get that injury.
Sure.
And I mean, we've never had many injuries in the gym, right? But I mean, because we've always looked down for it. But in fact, I think I've now got probably the worst injury of anyone that was ever at the gym, right? Which was shoveling shit in the backyard. But I mean, it does happen. And it's not fun. I mean, this thing is a 6-month injury, right? I'm already down 3 months of it, but it's a giant pain in the ass. So I think people will appreciate the safety record. Because there's nothing fun about rending flesh from bone.
Well, okay. So we're probably sitting on the most dangerous piece of equipment in here, right?
Oh, by far.
So most of the
Not anymore.
So
generally tend to be relatively minor for the most part.
and so with these,
I like that recessed.
So
nice.
all the screws are recessed, and it's got a quarter round smoothed onto all of them. So these are probably the nicest boxes that we've had. But I think what's making them safer is that some of the boxes are smaller, right? So it's like start off on a 16-inch box, then an 18-inch box, then you can go to a 20-inch box. You can make a 20-inch by 24-inch by 16-inch box and still use it for games level workouts, right? It's got 20 and 24 in it. And that was the kind of, that's part of the level of thinking that we were kind of at with all of this stuff. Even to the point where you can see, the handholds. Some of the handholds were, you basically get 2 fingers into them because they were cut with a hole saw. And these ones are slotted. As a result of slotting it, you've got to brace the inside of the box, and again, you've got to quarter around the inside and the outside, so there's no splinters on there, and all that's been done. And these things are a giant pain in the butt to make, especially when people are buying them from you faster than you can make them, right? So I went through this period of, we had all the boxes that we needed, and everybody bought a box. The good thing about that was it kind of...
My question, what the fuck are all these people doing with the boxes?
I don't know, man. I
just stairs at home. Is that many people doing boxes at home?
So we have a couple of boxes at home, and we sit beer on it, and we sit outside on it, and then sometimes I use it as a sawhorse.
There are other more comfortable seats.
There are. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's something that
Probably
makes you
less
feel kind of
expensive, too.
makes you feel kind of.
How much does it run for one of these? How much did this cost you to make? If you don't mind me saying, for materials, independent of time, labor, cost.
Well, so there's 5. How many sides has this thing got? It's like got 12 sides, and there's 5 screws in each. So you can kind of calculate that out. And a box of these screws, I don't know, they're probably $15 for a pound or something like that. The screws. They're also glued so that they don't make a noise. You got to have a router to router these things out, and then this sheet is actually about $35 a sheet. So if you're a simpleton, you'd say, well, we'll go $35 each because you're not taking into account the glue and the machining and all that kind of stuff. This is quite a bit of labor goes in. I think I had my fastest day yesterday and started knocking out from 3 virgin sheets. Actually, I did those 2 other towers as well. So I built those 2 towers and 3 boxes, and did all the machining in about a day and a half. So they do take quite a bit of labor.
It's like $1,000.
But I mean, the last ones.
So these are very valuable boxes.
Yeah.
That's what I'll tell you.
Well, they last a long time,
here's
right?
The reason
the old ones didn't.
I bought a commercially produced one for my home garage gym, and I think the kit was probably $110. And I
was that a key one? Flat pack.
No, yeah, that would have probably lasted longer and been nicer. This was RX Performance, whatever, off Chinese brand that you get through Amazon, and that bitch broke after 1 use. Fucking chips coming off the end of the board. The screw holes weren't lined up properly, so it wouldn't recess properly, so it's kind of mangled. I can use essentially like 2 sides of the box. I have to choose carefully when I'm going to use this thing.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that something that's hand built is going to turn out better than something that's mass produced, even when it's CNC like that.
You'd think though. I mean, you spend $110, you think you can get something quality. That's not the case.
Yeah, it's. Chinese trees are expensive, dude.
They're
gonna ship that shit over, and then you got Donny Boy with his tariffs. Tariffs on wooden shit.
Tariffs didn't either.
Because there's so much proprietary information involved in one of these boxes, right? You don't want the Chinese learning how to
engineer one of these,
how to monopolize
weaponized fucking jump boxes that hurt all the CrossFitters.
So, you've had a lot of shit going on in the last year, right?
Yeah.
So what catches up with that? Because
it's been a busy time. So I think probably last time I was really routinely around the gym was in December. My son was born December 4th. He's doing great. Obviously, there were time constraints associated with that. He's coming up on 8 months old now. Can't believe it. Eating big fast. It looks like his mom, thank God. But he's doing great. Had a minor scare after he was born. He had just some minor health issues. We had to go back to the hospital a couple times. Some issues with his electrolyte balances. Some issues with his feeding. We got all that straight out, but certainly a significant source of stress, along with the normal newborn blues where you got all this stuff going on. Probably the most dynamic thing that's happened to me since then was my wife's health issues. And I'm sure that she wouldn't mind me sharing with the folks in the gym what's been going on. But for those who don't know, my wife suffered terribly from postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. got to the point where she was having nervous breakdowns, having thoughts about suicide, having thoughts about hurting Jack, all that kind of stuff. Probably the worst day of my life. I had to take her to the hospital. She was admitted to the psych unit here locally, which they did a fantastic job. Thank God that we have that resource. Which is surprising because of the two of us. If you had to put money on who would wind up in a psych unit, you would have probably picked me, right?
Yeah, but for completely different reasons.
You know, right. Luckily,
for all the murders you did and shit, right?
So, really that opened my eyes to a huge need with mental health issues. So I've become a passionate advocate for Postpartum International, which is a group that supports new moms going through that sort of thing. We're very fortunate in Indiana. We have a postpartum specialist in Indianapolis. Most places don't have that. So they've done a great job getting my wife back to a fully functioning level. She's doing great. Being an awesome mom, being a career woman, doing all those sort of things. So that was probably the biggest issue. And then all those came together, of course, at the same time I went back to grad school. So I've been doing that, studying to be a nurse practitioner. And then simultaneously, apparently because I'm bad at planning, I also changed careers. So I left the emergency room, which I've been doing for, at that point, about 5 years. I actually still do it for fun on the side from time to time up in Franklin. But my new career, working as a flight nurse with IU Health Lifeline in Indianapolis.
Outstanding.
So a lot of exciting stuff, a lot of challenging stuff. A lot of choices had to be made, I guess, at the time regarding where I was going to invest my time and all that stuff. Unfortunately, fitness suffered. Didn't help that my gym burnt down. But
I'm sorry.
But the reality is it opened my eyes to a lot of different stuff. It opened my eyes to how important it is to, for me personally, to have community going on with my fitness. People probably laugh at me when I think this, but or when I say this. But if your church burnt down and you lost your support network when you were going through a time with your wife's health issues, or you just had a new baby, that could be something that was real challenging for you. And to me, this is when Deathproof burnt down was as impactful as a church burning down, a house burning down, anything like that. So it's been a little bit of a rough 8 months. It's been a challenging stretch of life, but fortunately, the Deathproof mindset, the way that we operate, we come out on the back end stronger, which is exactly what's going on here.
Right.
So it's a nice metaphor for, I think, multiple issues that's going on with your life, with my life, with my wife's life, and with your business. So
I mean, it's nice in hindsight, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when something like this happens, what
freaking sucks.
There's not a whole lot of the death of a loved one, maybe a loss of a relationship. There's not a whole lot worse than what you've been dealing with, right? I mean,
it would seem.
So at that point, you got to feel pretty good about your resiliency, about your ability to bounce back after something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to. You're right. The resiliency is, in hindsight, is comforting. The scary pieces, I think, or the way that these things come on, whether it be, you're on the way home from an insurance office on a Friday afternoon in November, and all of a sudden, bam, and your life changes, right? You get knocked off your motorcycle. Like you said, the mental health issues that you can suffer as a result of your endocrine system being forced out of whack because your husband is mauling you. And I mean, there are fitness ramifications, or rather considerations to both of those things. One, if you're fit, you're harder to kill. And two, if she'd been fitter, she would have been able to push you off of her and would never have had to suffer through the whole episode. I guess you get Jack at the end of it, right? That's a nice bonus. But, it's weird how these things can take just a dramatic time.
Yeah, I think they're kind of one of those things too. That just kind of shows the interconnectedness of all of it. Is with you having utilized IU Health Lifeline services essentially to save your life. 'Cause you
Oh
would've
yeah,
died
yeah,
if it
absolutely,
hadn't
no
been.
question. Yeah.
And then, here I come 6 months after that, 5 months, I can't remember exactly for sure when I started. And then you invest in me, you invest in my fitness, my health, get to a point where now I'm with that organization. It's just kind of, it's more than coincidence.
It is,
How stuff
it's
like that
very
works
weird.
out,
It's
so.
almost like the world works better when everybody figures out how to get along with each other.
Right.
Who'd have thought that would happen? It is weird. So we've been at this already for over an hour.
Yeah.
That we're going to have to do this more and more. I can tell. I've got a ton of subjects that I want to cover. We got a ton of people that we're getting on this format. Keller has been insane when it comes to hassling people that he should leave well alone.
Hard to believe.
So we've got a few Olympic champions and world champions that have already agreed to be a part of this. We'll be doing that stuff remotely, but we'll get together and let's leave it about 2 weeks and then get back together again and see what the difference is in this place and whether that kind of vision is becoming a reality. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you didn't get super fit while you were away.
No, I actually got super fat. We're going from dad bod to rad bod. This upcoming Deathproof challenge.
Yeah, but it's I got a carbon fiber BMX that I've got to get down. I got to lose about 40 pounds in order to do that. And I'm kind of getting back in more my endurance stuff again, which is now that the games has just been and we're throwing in like marathon rows and criterium races. It seems like maybe you ought to be investing a little more time in some stuff that lasts longer.
Which I don't think there's anything that a person could say to me that would ever make me row a marathon. I don't know what.
I'll give you $1 million. I'll give you $1 million if you can make your ass hurt more than if you've been ripped by a bull.
I guess I give it my best. I give it my best if $1 million is on the line.
That's good.
Yeah, that's rough.
All right, man. We'll
awesome.
We'll do it next time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
See ya.